And I think we're live, mate.
We are live. Welcome back, Simon.
Oh, good to be back, mate. It's been another exciting, jam-packed week of news and things exploding and things coming together and maybe some light at the end of the tunnel, who knows. But how about you kick it off, mate? CrossFit world, something's happening.
Oh, well, thank you, Saoirse. Yeah, sorry, yeah. Special guest is my baby. Yeah, CrossFit World has a new owner.
All right.
So new owner's name is Eric. Apparently, stand-up dude. He's been an affiliate owner, a gym owner for 9 years.
Yeah.
So he's got the he understands what CrossFit's about. Apparently, he's got a 2 minutes 48, 2 minutes 50 frame time.
Oh.
So for the weightlifters involved, that's 21:15:9 of front squat to push press into pull-ups. So that's pretty good. It's a good sign of fitness.
Yeah.
Not as good as Pip. Pip has a 1:58.
There you go. Pip for CEO.
That is legit. Pip for CEO. She'd do a great job.
Yeah.
A female in charge wouldn't be a bad thing, to be honest.
Not at all.
So new owner.
Yeah.
Things are looking rosy. He doesn't officially take over the company for 30 days. For another 30 days yet. So Dave Castro is still the CEO. Dave would have done a great job as well anyway. Excuse me. So it appears that everybody's going to stay on. And this guy is worth billions of dollars and has a history of making billion-dollar companies.
Yeah.
His business record is a matter of public record, so you can go in and check it out. So things are looking rosy.
That is good. That is
the CrossFit world.
Well, it's good. It's that's a pretty quick turnaround.
It's quick turnaround.
Ground Zero,
successful people have the ability to turn things around quickly, and when you have significant financial resources, you can make quicker moves. I think it's bigger picture stuff. I think that's why broke people tend to stay broke, because they can't make quick moves and everything's a slow game. And unfortunately, money is not slow. Yeah. It's hard to come in. It's quick to go out. So if you have a skill set where you can make money quickly, you are ahead of the game, regardless of what industry it is. But mate, what about the news in weightlifting?
Weightlifting stuff. Yeah. We've got a bit of a legend coming back to Australia, landing in Melbourne, I think, or it might even be in Sydney at the moment. I'm not too sure. But Paul Coffer is back on Australian soil and looks to be staying here for a while. And for those who don't know who Paul is, he's been working over in New Caledonia with the Oceania Institute. He was the head coach of Australia once upon a time. Many achievements, many medals with his athletes underneath him. But he's been a part of systems, for a very, very long time, and it's quite an addition to the sport in Australia to have him back in town. Not too sure what his role is going to be, but something I'd love to discuss with you a little bit more, and how we can capitalize on having someone with such experience back on our home soil. But that's the main news. But there's something I think that affects everyone moving forward, and I was just speaking to you about this a little bit earlier. I think it's July 1st is the end of ASADA as we know it.
Yeah.
Anyway, in its current form.
That is massive news.
Yeah.
Super massive news. I mean, first off, I doubt anyone's been drug tested in the last 3 months anyway.
Yeah.
So it's probably been an open slather for the cheats, of which we probably know who they are and we don't like them.
Yeah.
So fuck you guys. But yeah, this is a great, hopefully it's more than just a name change. Hopefully it's a massive organizational and hierarchy change. Because, people like myself that have always worked in the private sector have always known that the public sector is just full of bludgers and paper pushers and people that don't really have much impetus to go and make their job better or smoother or to be more efficient. They're just worried about knocking off 9 to 5 and sticking into retirement. Yeah, that's half true. I'm not trying to be funny here. But we do know that private sector works quicker. So hopefully by having a name change, it's more than just a name change. It's actually, there's some organizational structure differences which will make things a lot better.
It seems that way anyway. Yeah. What are we looking at here? The Sport Integrity Australia is what will be handling anti-doping now, and that's part of a broader group there that handles essentially all matters of integrity in sport. You would assume corruption and that sort of stuff, and match fixing and all that sort of thing. Do you think they'll
it's fucking
yeah,
great.
sorry. Yeah, it's interesting. Do you think they will how do you think it'll work with the anti-doping now that it is it's more just not a single entity, it's a part of a group? Will it be a focus, or will they be looking at other things? Because amongst other sports, we've been seeing a lot of corruption scandals, especially with regard to match fixing and everything. Does anti-doping take a back seat in the form of integrity?
Well, it's easier to track dopers. It's easier to track their money than their substances.
Yeah.
So not many people know that Lance Armstrong never failed a drug test, but what he did have was plastics in his body. And that plastic was only invented by a certain company that only sold a certain drug. So that's how he admitted to it, because they were like, mate, you are done. The human body does not manufacture plastic. So he was cooked. Another way that you can track somebody is by their finances. Where's their money going? Like, simple. And then the other thing, so drugs cheating is directly linked to result cheating or performance changes, simply because there's money in it. So like now that there's sports betting on everything, remember I always think back on the Indian cricket team, the guy, is it Sharma? Ishan Sharma, India's fast bowler with a massive beak on him.
I think so, yeah.
He bowled 12 no balls in an innings once, and it came out that he actually told a bookie, I'm going to give you 12 no balls. So then the bookie made a bet. So it's also the test match that Michael Clark got a 5 for. And now we know why he got a 5 for. It's pretty obvious. They lost 5. Michael Clark, probably the worst Australian cricket captain known. Just cared more about his appearance and his girlfriends at the time, which is not the image that Australian cricket's ever gone for. Like, we want Alan Border. We want him cloned. We want 11 Alan Borders. That's what we want. Captain Grumpy's.
Captain Grumpy. Look, I'll take Ponting. I like Punter.
Sexuals and bloody, and who's the latest guy? Who's that? Who's the midget that opens the batting?
David Warner.
We don't need him.
No,
Get rid of him.
Who is the captain of Australia at the moment?
It's Tim Payne.
Oh, that's right, Payne. Yeah,
stand up, dude. Not like you're not picking him on the. My kid is not having any of this at the moment.
No, she wants Border back as well.
She wants Border. She wants Captain Grumpy back.
Captain Grumpy.
Blokes who threaten fast bowlers on their own bowler on the field.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, we can ship you a fuck off home.
Yeah.
You wouldn't remember that, but it was 1989 Ashes tour, and he just ripped into Craig McDermott on the field, saying if you don't like it, you can fuck off.
That's what you want.
It was caught by the cameras. It was fucking great.
Non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable.
Yeah.
But, mate, tell me more about Paul Coffer.
Yeah.
And how it could shape the landscape of Australian weightlifting, because the guy's he's got the results.
Yeah. Well, that's obviously our big tick for what we need in terms of leadership is someone who's got the runs on the board. There aren't too many that have as many credentials as Paul does, especially when it comes to high performance. But he's really done it all. He's developed lifters. He's taken lifters to the top. He's been the head of systems, head coaches. So I think there's definitely an opportunity for us in Australia to now look at a head coach sort of model. It's we need to sort of tap this resource in any way we can. I think the first move would be getting him involved with high performance and seeing what his thoughts are on our current structure. We have the state system now, whether he oversees that or advises on it, and then potentially look at creating a coaching structure around it, which obviously brings a few issues in where do sort of personal coaches sit with that. But I think he'd be in favor as long as we have a clear direction moving forward. I think the most important thing would be getting him involved in getting him at least to advise us on a high performance program. And then I personally would like to pick his brain about developing and developmental systems, and what he thinks in the current climate is the best way forward.
How do you think he's going to go approaching, having been away, approaching the Australian lifestyle and the Australian mentality towards weightlifting?
I would assume non-negotiable. It's he'd set up how he thinks is going to go best, and everyone either falls in line or falls aside. So I can't see there being too many challenges there. We seem to be in a pretty good place with sport in Australia at the moment in terms of redeveloping smaller sports like weightlifting and everything. So long as there's money to back programs, and I think our major issue in the past has been we've had a few good ideas, good programs, but we haven't had anyone steering them in the right direction and haven't stuck with them for long enough. And I think it just comes down to experience. We're trying to put people in and develop them at the same time as developing programs. And I think we're the sort of unique opportunity now to have someone who has done it be in charge of something.
Yeah, it's a massive opportunity for Australian weightlifting. Huge. Do you think? What do you think about the current coaches that might perceive themselves to be the top of the tree? How do you think the appointment's going to be received?
Well, if he is to be appointed in a coaching role or a leadership role,
because clearly, just by him coming back, it's implied that he's a leader.
Yeah,
just because of the results. Just because of the results.
Yeah. Well, that's it, and I think that's the sort of lead we have to take as well. Me and you can sit and debate things all we like, but if our mate Phil Jackson walks in and tells us this is how it's going to be, well, we're not going to argue the point. He has the results. It's sort of the same issue here. It's well, I don't really agree with that method. Well, I've won 100 medals. It's like, okay, we'll try it your way and see what happens. But that's the hierarchical structure. That's how the leadership has to work. It's we're going to trust the head to lead the body. So I'm sure there will be or would be blowback if that was the case. But again, I think there's a want and need from coaches and athletes just to have some understanding of a system and know their place. And if we do start at the top and we go, this is who's here and this is the way it works down, at least people know what they're working towards and how to get there rather than a guessing game year to year.
Oh, I think that's been probably a glaring issue with Australian weightlifting. And certainly from a CrossFit's point of view as well, is lack of communication and clear direction. Every time you talk to somebody different, you have a different story or a different pathway or a different way to achieve something. And coming from both organizations is that's a commonality. So hopefully, he comes on board in a leadership of coaching direction position somehow and then can provide some clarity. Because, like what you said, even if you don't agree, at least it's a map, it's a roadmap. And it's like you're either going in that direction with him or you're not going. So do you think people would jump off the train if Paul Coffer is named in some sort of directorial position or performance position? Do you think people would be like, no, well, I'm not doing it this way and I'm getting off?
Well, again, I'm sure that there will be a few that'll be like that. But my 2 points would be, one, we don't currently have a train going in any direction. So they're not jumping off anything. They're either standing aside, wanting to get on, the first good looking opportunity. And the second point is, or if you are going to go it alone and work outside the system, you probably want to have a base underneath you, and you've got to assess your goals as well. It's like if I'm not going to be part of the system, I've got to have my own way of working towards it. And if I haven't already established myself by now, I don't think I have any merit to go out and try and prove someone else wrong. So it's
let's play devil's advocate for a second. Okay. Let's do this. Who just say they don't agree if Paul does come on obviously I want him to, by the way I'm talking. Just say he does come on, and then somebody like us will be like, well, the guy's won medals. How would someone argue? Would they say, oh, well, these lifters are a certain weight class, or these lifters are a certain gender? Do you think there's some sort of way that people can be a knocker?
Well, again, I would say that their best argument they would have is, in recent times, Paul's best results come from essentially full-time athletes, of which we have very few, if any at all, in Australia. So you'd make the argument that that system won't work here because we don't have the same environment and the same luxuries that a full-time athlete sort of has. But I mean, he didn't start out that way. He got very, very good results in Australia in a system that almost mirrors what's happening today. Probably, arguably, have it better now in terms of services available to athletes. So again, I think that would be the only argument you could make to saying that his system wouldn't work.
Well, that's a great point in terms of environment, because that's something I want to bring up with you later. Basically, I have a whole bunch of stuff that I want to pick your brain about.
Yeah.
You being a weightlifting super coach. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Oh, my neck hurts because you seem prepared and my butt is not ready.
I'm slightly prepared.
Yeah.
Mate, how do you select? How do I phrase this? How do you select an athlete to be a weightlifter? So if somebody comes to you and they say, I want to be a successful weightlifter. Do you have a criteria or a structure or a method in your thinking to predict whether they're going to be successful or
not? A hard question. And I say it's hard because of the way I have notoriously recruited weightlifters, in that they walk in off the streets and we go, yep, I want to be a weightlifter. Cool. Let's make you a weightlifter. If I had my way, I'd be recruiting based on body type and how, like, once they got that, seeing how they moved and all these sort of factors. But it's currently a luxury I don't have. I don't know how to best answer this, but the ability to acquire skills fast, some explosive power, and a build that is favorable for the sport is things that I'm looking at going, look, you've got potential. I can't honestly say I'm out there going, hey, you're perfect build for weightlifting, get in. That's just not the way that I operate or the system I currently work in. So we work with the people that come in and try to make them into the best athletes for the sport.
Would you look at any other particular sports and think, oh, if that person stopped, I don't know, for instance, playing AFL, if they stopped playing AFL and went to weightlifting, they'd be successful?
Yeah. I like a lot of athletic sports, well, anything in athletics, gymnastics, because they've got transferable qualities there. Obviously, explosive power, stability, all these sort of things that you look for or you try to develop as a coach anyway. 100%. I'd be recruiting ex-gymnasts left, right, and center. And if you know any, let me know. Send a business card. But any sport that has transferable skills. So obviously we've got AFL players, NRL. Great, they're going to have explosive power, very, very strong, stable bases and everything. Some of them just aren't going to be suited to weightlifting, where it comes down to height and everything. But it doesn't mean they're not going to be successful in the sport. So again, it's another debate where it comes down to, it's like, are we trying to produce weightlifters or are we trying to produce athletes? And I know me and you have talked about that a lot of times, and I'm tending to lean towards producing athletes. We just don't have the talent identification at club level yet. I think they're starting to look at state level and national level now. But all day long we're looking for a certain skill set, but we work with what we've got.
Yep. So when does it get to a point, like, what's your criteria? When would you call somebody an athlete as opposed to a weightlifter?
Oh, that's good.
Is it one and the same for you?
For me, it has to be sort of one and the same. I'm going to try and treat everyone as athletes, but that's because I specialize in weightlifting. If I was leaning more towards S&C, it would be athlete all day, and the level of buy-in would be, determine whether I consider them an athlete or just another client. And I guess that's sort of the crux of it for me as well. It's level of buy-in. Am I a person? For me, am I a person that lifts weights, or am I a weightlifter? And that's weightlifter / athlete. And it's really up to the individual how much they want to invest in the sport, because I will invest in each athlete the same way. Then the next bit is on them to see how far they want to take it and amp it up according to the individual. And it's again, I've spoken to you many times about this, even earlier today, about it's I should, as a coach, be trying to promote the sport and get athletes through as much, but I know what it's like at the end of the sporting career. I've seen it too many times, and I think a lot of people put this sport above their own careers, and it's not something that I'm going to encourage athletes to do. Like, I want them to achieve everything they can in the sport, but I don't want them to have nothing at the end of it. And I've seen it a lot with my athletes. Some of the more talented athletes that I've worked with that have all the ability have the same drive for their endeavors outside of the sport. And a thing I've mentioned before is, you're trying to give 100% to both, and you end up giving 50% to them, and something has to go.
Yeah.
And when we have that conversation, I'm saying, you could be good, but your career is more important. And obviously that sparks a lot of other sort of debates in the sport. It's like, can we have full-time athletes, and what sort of system is there after they're done? But I have to promote what's best for the people that I'm working with.
Mate, yeah, great attitude. You do have to look after people, because you're looking at them in the eye every day. Like, you can't lie to them. So the fact that you don't is why you're so well respected. But why would you have full-time athletes if the end goal isn't to make money for the athlete and or the organization? So if you're not making money, either one of those people aren't making money, then what's the point of being full-time? Because you've got nothing to sell.
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing. And if you look at the success of CrossFit, for instance, they sell training seminars and they make phenomenal coaches. And I've said this plenty of times, but I know well over 10,000 CrossFit coaches that teach the Olympic lifts better than the Olympic weightlifting coaches. Because I've been on record, the weightlifting courses are fucking terrible. They're literally terrible. And CrossFit coaches are doing it full time, whereas most weightlifting coaches have a day job, and they're only giving it 2 hours a day, whereas CrossFit coaches are giving it 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 6 days a week. So my 2 cents on weightlifters ever being full time is that you need to be on social media and you need to be selling the dream, because you can't have full time athletes without being full-time role models. And then how many non-weightlifting people can tell us who have won medals for Australia at weightlifting? The most recent one is a CrossFitter. It's not an answer that weightlifting needs to have. So the sport's got to make some money. It's got to get some interest. It's got to drive that social media, and then it benefits everybody. It benefits the clubs instead of, like, why do you want to be a weightlifter? So, because I hate cardio. That's the joke. That's the joke with CrossFit. But let me jump onto this. How much we're talking about, how would it be great to have full-time weightlifters? Full-time weightlifting athletes. How much does lifestyle impact a lifter's performance?
So many schools of thought on this. For me personally, I think it has a major impact on athletes, especially in the sport of weightlifting. There's very little sort of consideration, I think, from the majority of athletes, how much stress affects performance. And when we're talking about lifters, everyone just assumes that stress is just, a training session, a competition, this and that. But I don't think they understand how much impact it has on the body and mind. Working a 9-hour a day sort of job, whether you're sitting down, active, stress is stress, and the body will react accordingly. That's one of them. Then it's the social aspect, having an active social life, whether partaking in drinks a certain night out or not getting enough rest because you enjoy staying up playing video games. I'm guilty. Who cares? I'm obsessed with Last of Us right now. It's emotionally critical. Just again, it's a little bit off track there, but it's it all has a sort of factor, and I think it's from a coaching aspect. It can be quite frustrating when athletes don't feel the need to disclose these sort of things. It's like, oh, man, today's session's really rough. I don't know why. Were you out on the piss till 5 a.m.? Yes. Does that have anything to do with it? Well, probably not. I go and get pissed all the time. It's like, well, that's probably why you
Oh no, Simon, we've lost a bit of connectivity there.
Yeah.
But we finished on a great point with you saying that's probably why you're shit. Oh, lost them again. Let's see if we can get him back, folks. The next question I've got for Simon while we try to figure out Simon's system here is how much of a role does social media play for lifters? How much head noise does a lifter receive? Maybe it's a question out there for anyone who's watching us live instead of listening back later on. Drop us a question on the YouTube or the Facebook comments about social media and if it plays a part in your performances. Like, do you see somebody kicking ass one day and then you see them coming, you see them on Instagram and you think, oh, wow, they're crushing it. So Simon, now that you're back, mate, I was just asked people to send us a question in for anybody who's listening live to see if social media plays a part in their performances in the gym during training or elsewhere. You might see somebody making a massive lift and it inspires you or it disheartens you because you don't like the person.
Yeah.
Have you got any experience on your lifters playing the social media game and why aren't we doing this because so-and-so does that, or why can't I do this because so-and-so can?
Yeah, I think that's a major. Well, no, I wouldn't say it's a major concern of mine. I think I've got a fairly diverse sort of spread of athletes in their use of social media. Some people are just documenting sort of their journey through the sport and their sporting ventures. Others are obviously laying the foundation for something after the sport, after they finish their career, like you've suggested. So they're getting their hooks in early, making sure that they're quite active in the community and branching out. And then we do have the people that are out there just using it as a source material to like question their own performance, question programs, and sort of measure themselves against other people. And I've never really been big on that last point, measuring ourselves against others. I'm sort of in it for the long game, and if your main focus isn't yourself in an individual sport, I think you're going to probably get run over a fair bit. But, it's so it's for me it's a double-edged sort of sword, and again, you're always on me about it, but I'm not sure what I am supposed to be promoting because personally as a coach, but as an athlete, I can see the advantages. Again, whether it's career now, career afterwards, but I think there's also a very detrimental aspect of it if we're not doing it right. And I'm sure there's a role out there for a Instagram coach, but it's not me, and so I probably shouldn't comment on it too much further before I get myself into too much trouble.
Do it, mate. Trouble's where it's at. What about this? What about? I mean, I was told a long time ago before you were born, to not static stretch before performance because it ruins the elasticity of the muscle.
Yeah.
Now, which I always believed to be true. Now, I have, through years and years of searching, I have found the exact study where number has come from, where that philosophy's come from. Now, I'm going to ask you a very loaded question here, which I do get asked, and I literally got asked last night when I was coaching. This particular person can back squat a truck, can shoulder press a truck, but cannot overhead squat. They just don't have the musculature because it wasn't developed under it.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you. Would you prefer a range of motion, an athlete to have great range of motion, or an athlete to have great strength?
Do I have to explain my answer?
You don't have to be. It's like it can be a philosophical position. It could be a whatever position. Like you don't have to back up with science because I don't punch you in the face with this studies.
Just knowledge fucking bomb right there.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious, like, because you are an accomplished coach, so I do want to know: would you prefer somebody have a greater range of motion or have greater levels of strength?
I would prefer greater range of motion to a greater level of strength, because the majority of athletes that I have worked with have had that sort of balance, because I believe I can build enough strength on top of a mobile base versus the time and effort it takes to take an athlete back who has that massive squat, massive press, but can't hold a weight over their head.
Correct answer. Outstanding. Because obviously, greater range of motion means that you can teach them the squat jerk.
Yes.
Which is what we want. Which is the
11 episodes in a row.
How about this, though? So that study, right, about how static stretching diminishes dynamic expression. Guess how much it does diminish it? Put a degree on it. So just say you've got 100%, but then when you static stretch, the muscle's reduced. I'm pretty
sure we read the same thing, and it's something fucking ridiculously small, isn't it? It's under 10%.
Dude, it's 0.04.
That's it. Yes. Yeah.
0.04. So imagine you get somebody and their shoulder flexibility is just fucking trash.
Yeah.
If you can get them 1% increase in range of motion, you've already made them better. And if it means that you need static stretching to do it, then go ahead and do it. Yeah. Like, it's insane. So if somebody can only flex to whatever degree, if you make a positive change, you've made them a better athlete. Like, so, static stretch all you want.
Isn't that the point of difference to be able to say something that increases performance, like a certain brand of tights? It's like guaranteed to increase performance, and it only has to measure over like 0.04 or something like that.
Oh, right. Well, that's true. That's true. It might be Skins or 2XU or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Free plug. Show needs a sponsor.
Yeah.
Cash, not merch. Cash pays bills. T-shirts don't. Just for any athlete out there that thinks a T-shirt or protein sponsor is worthwhile, no. Yeah, no. Get money. They're making money off you. You get money off them.
Elvis is great, but cash is king.
That's true. Now, we've already really touched on it. My question was, why are you doing what you're doing? And that would be to a lifter. It's like, why are you doing this? You've already answered it, but just say we'll frame it in the scenario. Just say you've got Daz, a litany of shoulder history, all not good. Yeah. And he's like, nah, man, I think I can make the Masters Games.
The Masters Games.
Yeah. I think I'm going to be a Masters competitor.
Yeah.
My current jerk is 2 kilos. My squat's a bomb. Like, I've got a decent squat, but my jerk is absolutely atrocious. But I also run my own company.
Yeah.
And the hours I put in directly affect the money that I take out.
Yeah.
At what point do you go, Daz, you are no fucking chance, son. Don't bother. Or it's like, yeah, mate, come on down. Let's put in 3 hours in the gym each day. Like, at what point does Simon go, fuck, this is going to affect my sleep?
Well, me personally, it's every fucking time. But it's I'm having that conversation day one. And it's not as simple as me going, nah, you're fucked. It's all right, you want to go to the Masters Games. Why do you want to go to the Masters Games? What do we have to fix in order for you to go to the Masters Games? What do you have to give up in order to be able to fix these sort of things? Is that going to be detrimental overall? Is it going to be a vicious cycle that affects you to the point where you resent the sport, you resent your coach, you resent yourself for not being able to achieve these goals? We are just, it's goal setting. That's all we're doing. It's like you come in with a goal that may or may not be realistic. We're going to break it down to its smallest form and then see if we can work through it. But that is day one. That's before you've even signed any forms or anything. I want to know why you're here, where we're going, and how you think we're going to get there.
Mate, that leads me to my next question. I agree. I love that. Where does the buck stop? And in terms of ownership, how many, no names, but how many people do you see walk in to your, theoretical door, approaching you for coaching? How many people do you think have placed the responsibility of their performances on their own shoulders or put it on yours? And ownership, how many people have taken ownership in what you're giving them?
I would say the vast majority believe that it's on the coach, and that's not a knock on the potential athlete that are walking through the door. It's a knock on the sporting education system and how we educate athletes on responsibility. And it's something that I like to do with athletes in the early part of their career, is make sure that we understand the responsibilities that each of us have and in our role working towards certain goals. And you've said it also before. It's like they get to celebrate their achievements and their accolades, and we deal with their failures. So it's that trade-off of, this is what you need to do. You're responsible for doing it, but I'm also there's a bit of weight on me to make sure that you're doing it. So I guess that comes back to the question: is where does it sort of where's the buck stop with regard to that? And I think it's a hard question to answer for most weightlifting coaches out there, especially younger weightlifting coaches, because unlike myself, where I was very blessed to essentially do an apprenticeship under coaches where I didn't have to worry about money or anything, I was just there to learn. These guys are out there with their own businesses, their own money in renting places. So they have to keep athletes no matter what, because that's their income. Yeah. They don't necessarily have to worry about high performance at this stage. So I'm not saying it's lying to athletes, but you're definitely not exposing them to the truth about stuff. And you want to put a little bit more on yourself so that athletes essentially keep coming back. So it's a very, very, I think it's probably the most loaded question out of the lot is where do you stop? Because it's business versus sport, and then when does sport become business? And it's a very, very tough question.
Oh man, sport is business. The amateur Olympics died.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, sport is a business. Now I want to ask you one final question before we end this amazingly distracted episode with technical difficulties and beta difficulties.
Yeah.
Do you prefer your athletes to be process focused or results focused, or both?
Process focus, because process is going to lead to but the right process leads to the right results. And if you focus on the results, you'll skip the process. So.
Now, how do you? I completely agree with you, obviously, because we're both geniuses.
Yeah.
You can be obsessed about a result and you've got shitty processes. You're not going to get the result.
Oh, 100%.
You ignore the result. You've got great processes. It's going to be, you're going to be that overnight success that's taken multiple years.
Yeah.
What do you do, and how do you deal with an athlete that is results focused? How do you keep their fucking head in the game?
It's for me again. It's a hard question, but it's the same way I approach goal setting. We just keep breaking it down. So I want to snatch 90 kilos. Okay, let's put that at the top of the list. That's 90 kilos, all right? But if in order for you to achieve that goal, you have to achieve my goals I set for you. And my goals are always going to be process driven. So it's like, I need you to lift this way. I need you to increase this amount of flexibility. I need this amount of strength. And then I'm essentially taking their goal, putting it to the side and making them work towards it rather than focusing on it itself. And it's a hard thing to do.
Yeah,
but, yeah.
That's very hard. But what do you do? Just say it's Daz. You're coaching Daz.
Yeah.
Daz is a beast, and Daz is just not making lifts in this one particular session.
Yeah.
How do you tell Daz to pull his head in, or do you tell Daz to pull his head in? Do you do it during the moment? Do you do it at the end of the session? How do you manage an athlete who is getting hung up on how it's turning out instead of what they're trying to achieve?
Gauging the emotive response from the athlete first off is what I'm doing. I'm going is their reaction to lifts or reactions to the session affecting them positively, negatively? Are they dwelling on misses, this sort of stuff, or are they just getting frustrated in general? I like to remind people where possible that there are really two outcomes in this sport. It's either you make the lift or you don't make the lift, and that applies to almost every exercise that we do. So there's no point dwelling so much on the negative when you show no interest in the positive. So it's trying to, in a session, trying to get them back on track, and then it's triage from there. It's like, how bad is this session going? Where are they at? Can I pull them back? No. Do we need to move on from something? Do we need to scale it back? It's trying to get the most out of every situation, trying to get them to focus on the positive where possible.
Yeah. That's awesome, dude. Mate, we've covered a lot of ground this episode. A lot of distraction also. Mate, I'd like to end it there if we can. And
no dramas.
Suggest to you that we have possibly a nighttime podcast where we can catch up on all things The Last Dance.
Yep.
And get into some deeper philosophy discussion while being hydrated with a whiskey or an appropriate beverage.
I think that's the only way to have a philosophical conversation, isn't it? Well, I mean, there are other ways, but none legal.
It is the only way, yeah. Luckily for all the viewers, my camera has shut off.
That's excellent.
It's genius move.
Yeah.
But mate, thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, mate. Hopefully we'll get these glitches sorted next week. My internet doesn't love me at the moment.
Your internet sucks. My baby hates me.
Yeah.
It's a good judge of character.
Yeah.
And the cameras keep shutting off. But mate, knowledge bombs all around. And let us know too, gang. If you guys want these episodes transcribed, let us know. We can do that. They will be appearing on Spotify shortly. I keep saying it, but they will pop up on Spotify and all with our previous episodes as well. And if you've got any questions for next week's episode, I already know what next week's episode is going to be, because it's a topic that I really want to dive into, our Lord and Savior Phil Jackson's book, and some gold nuggets from there. But if you guys got any questions that you'd like Simon answered next week, let us know. And also let us know if you guys want an after hours podcast, pretty much like how the old school Big Brother Unplugged or Big Brother Unclothed or Simon and Daz Nude.
Yeah.
Let us know.
If not, you can find that content on our OnlyFans website. That's OnlyFans Daz and Simon. $3 subscription.
There's a lot of money in that. Mate, Simon, thanks again, mate. I appreciate it.
No dramas, mate. Take care.
We'll chat soon.
Sounds good. See you, mate.